Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me on.
Um, yeah, well, I'm super excited because I actually had heard about you guys even ahead of your raise from TikTok, which I'm an avid user of, which Leora knows. But I feel like I'm meeting like my like celebrity founder idol. I don't know. I like really love the company. I think what you guys are doing are really cool. But I guess before we dive into like what Pickle is and obviously the formation of it, love to hear just more about your background. Where you grew up and maybe what influenced you to get into tech in the first place, and kind of go from there.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thanks for having me on. I was telling Steph when we met up the other day for coffee that I'd seen a lot of her tweets around fundraising and things like that, and I used to share them with my co-founder Julia when
I'm
we were
honored.
going through a lot of that.
Just
So
like, here's what not to do, like Steph's advice, let's do the opposite kind
Yeah,
of
exactly.
pretty much, yeah,
thing.
pretty much, yeah, exactly. So thanks for having me on. My background, grew up in Maryland, and actually went to the University of Maryland as well. Majored in business there and played football, and then went and worked in data science strategy consulting at Booz Allen for a little bit before going to Blackstone, and then eventually starting Pickle. I've always been pretty interested in technology, mostly from the data side. I was always interested in sports data, and that's what kind of got me interested in technology, over time, and have really enjoyed everything I've done in my career, but especially Pickle.
Very cool. Leora also is addicted to sports betting, so maybe I don't know if that's the data you're talking about,
I
but
didn't say betting,
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
yeah, I
I'm just
can
also
neither
intimidating
confirm
you.
nor deny that habit of mine that is totally
Just
healthy and
kidding.
not.
Totally legal sports betting. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We're in New York
Um,
State, that's.
no, well, anyway, I obviously started my career in finance as well, and I think something that always intrigues me is when people deviate from finance and immediately jump into tech. Like, I think it took me several steps. Like, first I went into VC, which is kind of like hybrid financy tech, and then I went to business school, and then I finally had the guts to start my own company. But I feel like it was very rare for people to kind of like immediately go from a finance firm to a startup, especially their own, because everyone else is kind of climbing the finance ladder. I'm curious if you ever felt like pressure, or did you always know you wanted to do this, or what was that kind of decision process like?
Yeah, I always knew I wanted to do this. It was just kind of waiting for the right timing and the right idea. I was on more of like the data and product side of finance. I was always really interested in figuring out how can we do these things at scale or just a lot faster. I think one thing people don't really realize about finance until you're in it is that it's not very tech enabled, I'll say. Everything is still very much
Agreed.
in Excel spreadsheets and sort of an older school way of doing things. So it wasn't as big of a jump as many from finance probably make, but it's still it's definitely a different lifestyle, that's for sure.
I guess to that point, were you kind of around folks who were kind of supportive of this leap that you were taking? Because I found that some of my finance friends, especially the ones out in New York, like I think if they were in the Bay Area or in different time in their lives, they probably would have been more likely to start a company versus continue their career in finance. Yet to Steph's point and to your story as well, you did deviate. So how did you kind of break free from perhaps like other folks being like, hey, what are you doing? This is stupid kind of thing.
Yeah, I think I had a lot of really supportive friends, friends from work and friends from kind of personal life as well. So there was definitely a lot of support in doing that. I think a lot of my finance friends will joke that I left and I left them just running on the hamster wheel. I think that's a pretty common saying in finance. So yeah, I mean, there was definitely a lot of support. I think that everyone thinks it's really cool. It's obviously everyone in finance is very, driven by money. And I think that, people get excited by the opportunity to go start your own thing and have all the upside in your hands, which is pretty unique.
Wow, that could not be any more different than my experience, which is
Oh,
so
really?
interesting. And like, yeah, I just feel like, I mean, granted, I had a lot of great friends in banking as well, but I think, and they were supportive kind of on a superficial level. Like, I don't think anyone was super mean, but even back then when I was super excited about the prospect of starting something, people were, kind of skeptical or like, oh, that sounds really hard, or it's, not the most optimized path to like wealth, which like I totally respect as a goal for a lot of people. And even like conversations I noticed, in my like banking group versus, since moving to SF, it's just all about kind of promotions and like milestones and bonus numbers, which like I totally understand also because that's kind of what drives a lot of the culture in banking. Whereas when I moved to SF, I feel like a lot of it's more about ideas and people's side hustles and like weird experiments and kind of like the weirdness is rewarded. Whereas in like my finance experience, it was definitely not. And so anyway, it's awesome that you had a very different experience than that.
Yeah, that's interesting. A lot of my friends kind of thought, from a financial perspective, what I was doing was a lot smarter
Oh,
than them.
interesting.
Obviously, in the not so much in the short term when you know kind of break away and don't make a salary for a while, but over the long
Mhm.
run, for sure. So yeah, that's really interesting. The different perspectives there.
Yeah, but yeah, to Lyra's point, I think like the support network you have around you really influences your like aptitude or confidence in doing it. So anyway, that's very cool. I know we talked briefly about this, how Pickle originally started off as like Pickle Pole, and I'd love to hear more about yeah where it started and talk us through that idea and how it changed to Pickle.
Yeah, definitely. So the original concept was we were trying to help people make better purchase decisions through the use of social polling. So the idea was we'd create these communities of users with similar style preferences. And if you were in the market for something new, you could post a poll with a few different options. So if you wanted a new suit or some shoes or a new dress, whatever it is, and others could vote on that. So introducing social proof into the purchasing process. The idea behind that was both myself and my co-founder Julia. We hated making our own decisions when it came to buying new things, but we obviously wanted to look good. So this felt like a pretty good way to do it. We made a lot of mistakes as first-time founders, most notably just getting unfocused. You launch something and a lot of people have input. You start to see all the different ways and places you could take it. Wouldn't it be cool if you sourced opinions from the entertainment industry or about politics or about sports and gambling and things like that? And we did try a lot of those things, but we in hindsight should have been much more focused on the initial commerce use case. What did come out of it though is we noticed a lot of people in the polls, as we kind of like reeled things back in and did get more focused back on the initial commerce use case. A lot of people in the comments of those polls were recommending things that they already owned, and we started to think, hey, what if we just allowed people to share these things amongst each other? And then one night I had a call with a VC from the West Coast. It was a little bit later. I think it was around 10 o'clock. And Julia was meeting someone for drinks. And in both of our conversations, the other person kind of said, hey, have you guys ever thought about this? And it was actually sitting at the top of the whiteboard in my apartment. So that just kind of, you know, really pushed us to think about it a lot more seriously. And then we spent basically a week just doing every piece of research we could do on marketplaces and that business model, and then the competition, and then just whiteboarding what we thought would be an optimal solution, and then spent 2 weeks heads down just retooling the entire platform, and then went live with it.
Oh wow, that's a pretty fast pivot. That's impressive.
Yeah, well, it was just two of us. I was doing all the engineering. Julie was doing a lot of the product and design and marketing strategy. So when you don't have to coordinate across a lot of teams, it's a lot easier just to kind of put your head down and go.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I guess I realized that we just skipped over this, but you and Julia met at work. Is that right? She was also at Blackstone, and that's how you guys became a co-founding team. Cool.
Yep. So we met at Blackstone. We worked together there for a couple of years, and just had a really great working relationship. Just kind of had very complementary skills. We felt and enjoyed working with each other. She played lacrosse at Penn. Like I mentioned, I played football in Maryland, so we also kind of bonded over that athlete mentality brought into our work. And yeah, so when it came time, I started working a little bit on. I was trying to teach myself how to code to do the initial, to launch the apps. I wanted to bring Julia in on it, but I wanted to make a little more progress so that I could show her this is something I can do. She called me and said, "Hey, I want to grab some beers. I'd love to talk about my career. I don't know if I'm, totally want to stay here for the long term." And I said, "Can you give me like one more week? I have something I want to pull you in on. I just need another week to like make it good." She called me like a day later. I was like, "You have to show me now." So I went on, showed her a demo, and she was, in immediately. And the rest is kind of history, I guess.
Oh wow, that's amazing. And the other cool thing about your guys' story too is you mentioned we'll get to it later. You guys raised a formal round recently, but until what was it, June of this year, it was literally just you two for 2 years. Is that right?
Yep, that's correct. So made it through. It was a lot of fun. I mean, it's great working with someone. Julie and I are pretty good friends as well, so it's great working with someone that you enjoy, actually spending time with, since you have to spend like 20 hours a day with that person.
Yeah.
That's right. Just the two of us until about June of 2023.
And why did you guys? I mean, just to start, like, why did you care so much about like fashion to begin with? Like, what about that like drew you in? Was it something that you saw as like a need in the market, or was it a passion? I say this as someone who's probably fashion challenged, and so more just curious how y'all kind of got there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I would say neither of us are fashion people. I'm definitely fashion challenged as well. I think that the size of any potential market in the commerce space is really appealing, and we were just trying to solve a problem that we had, which was neither of us liked to pay attention to that until it was kind of time to you know throw some clothes on in the morning, and then it's like, oh, or go to an event and it's like, oh well, I don't have anything. Like, I would have appreciated if someone could have just done this all for me or made these decisions, or now with our current use case, just drop something off at my door, and then send it back when I'm finished.
Yeah, cool. So you guys obviously pivoted eventually to Pickle in its current form. You mentioned launching within a couple weeks, which is pretty amazing. Like, talk us through the early days. Like, one of the other things that I really loved from our conversation was hearing about how you and Julia did like 4,000 deliveries on the subway yourselves. I just love to hear about the early days and how you guys kind of like bootstrapped, obviously two sides of the marketplace, but starting off with what's on like the supply side.
Yeah, definitely. So our biggest three things when we made the pivot were: one, we wanted to focus on supply, so we wanted everything on the platform to be very new, trendy stuff that people actually really, really want. We didn't want it to look like a Poshmark or a Depop, where it's a lot more secondhand sales, where the items are a few years old and people are trying to get rid of things. The purpose of renting and using Pickle is you're still very much interested in holding on to the item and continuing to use it. But while you're not using it, you're able to rent it out to others, and earn some passive income in the meantime. So number one was style, and Julia had a great idea to seed a lot of the initial style from some of the micro and nano influencers in New York. So we went to them, kind of pitched them on what we were working on, and kind of convinced them, hey, if you guys all upload, some items, you can share to and from each other, and great source of income, and then you can use some of the money you make from renting out your stuff to rent new outfits for content, or going out socially, things like that. The second thing we really focused on is the convenience aspect of it. I think that in 2023, and where we are now, everyone's really used to getting things delivered straight to the door. Everyone wants things pretty immediately, so it was pretty important to us to reduce as much friction as possible in the renting process. And so we did that by thinking of like, hey, let's just do door to door courier delivery. And when we launched, like, Julie and I were the couriers. We thought that would last for maybe like a few weeks. It ended up going on for about 7 months, as we were just trying to continue to seed supply and grow the user base and all that. So yeah, we ended up doing about, I think, 4,000 subway rides between the two of us. We would basically go out at like 7 in the morning, and then do deliveries until about noon, come back, do a few meetings, try and do some calls with VCs to raise some money, go back out at around 3, get home at around 9, and then that's when we would spend a few hours working. So it was definitely a grind, but we appreciate the time, I guess, doing that, and it was great to get to learn a lot from our users and chat with them directly. So that was pretty awesome as well.
Yeah, so much respect. And Leora knows this because he TA'd this class. But when Brian and I were talking about this originally, I was saying like DoorDash started that way too. How Tony and team were literally the ones currying all the Palo Alto food delivery meals that people were ordering. So anyway, well, that's a lot of respect.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we learned a lot from a lot of those founders. DoorDash, obviously, we like to think that the experience, we like to tell people the experience when you're ordering via the courier deliveries. It's kind of like DoorDash, but for clothes. We also look at a lot of what Airbnb has done. The concept in general is sort of like Airbnb, except for the just the things that you own, through like the rental use cases. So yeah, we study a lot of those companies, and to your point, they did a lot of great scrappy things that we were able to learn from.
How,
That's
how
awesome.
much like optimization when you're kind of thinking through like the marketplace itself and making sure that like the economics actually work out? Like, curious, like how do you think about like, shaving, seconds here or cost savings there? Like, I'm curious if there've even been some creative solutions to kind of how y'all figure it out, how to make the marketplace work,
Strictly from the courier perspective or just in general?
just in general.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's always places that you can look to shave costs, and make the unit economics just look more and more attractive. Early on, we ran a couple models and figured out, hey, if we are able to, do this at scale, we can make this work. I think that the number one most important thing is making sure that people actually want to use the product that you're putting out there. And the more people want to use it and the more people get just obsessed with it and rely on it as part of their life, the more pricing power that you do have. So we do look at that a lot in terms of incentives that we're providing for the courier deliveries, all the way through, how can we make our support center more efficient so that they're able to respond to things even 5% faster over time will save us a lot of money. So we're looking at that every day, for sure, and there's a lot more work that we can do on that, which is all really exciting.
Yeah. I was curious. You mentioned kind of the early supply and kind of going to micro influencers in New York and getting them to onboard their closets, which I think makes a ton of sense. Also, because they have all the clothes that people want to rent, and so that's brilliant for a lot of reasons. I'm actually just curious because I hear from a lot of consumer founders that it's really hard to get the attention of influencers, especially given like the last 2 years of like creator economy startups. There are just so many people vying for their attention. I'm curious if you experienced any hardships there at all, or maybe it wasn't an issue for you guys at all.
Yeah, so it really wasn't. And I think it's because we provide them a pretty tangible benefit, which is that they can earn, good amount of money off of renting out items from their closet. So, and they have so much supply as well. So yeah, the influencer networks are fairly similar to all networks in that once you get in with a few people, they start to talk and tell each other. And luckily early on, we were able to have a great enough customer experience that people were interested in telling their friends. And a lot of our growth does come from organic word of mouth, and kind of similarly on the supply side from an influencer perspective, that's how a lot of it happened as well, where someone would hear about it and say, oh, I'd love to chat with them about this. I'd love to get my closet up there and things like that. So we didn't really have a problem, with that. And it's amazing to have all the people that we do on the platform, and it's great for obviously social proof and just kind of showing that we are solving a problem or creating a solution that people are really interested in and really do love.
Yeah, very cool. Um, I guess like kind of taking a step back and looking at the kind of overall timeline. I know we talked about like pickle pull and then pivoting to pickle and then obviously doing these kinds of early days of couriering and building supply and stuff. Like walk us through the timeline, I guess, and at what point do you feel like pickle was really working, or like at what point did you feel like pickle was really working? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think a lot of the experience that we had through the initial polling concept helped us see some indicators with the rental marketplace that Pickle is today. The polling concept it grew kind of solidly. We had people that were interested. Retention was not really where we wanted it to be. And you can kind of hear that when you speak with people about it. It's like, oh, this is really cool, or, love that you're doing this, things like that. But as we were, after we pivoted to the marketplace, even just from the initial get go, you could hear the passion in people's voices. Like, this is the best idea ever. I love this. I think people are always kind of nervous to say, I've thought of this before, but I've always wondered why no one did it, which, I don't like, it's not a bad thing for us to hear. We love hearing that. I think the sign of a good company is it's something obvious that everyone realizes this should exist. And like, we just have to go out and execute on it. So very early on, we started to just hear a lot of really strong positive sentiment. Between May and September, we were really, really focused on building supply, and we did a pretty good job at that. We were lucky that we got a lot of great closets early on that kind of set the precedent for what supply was supposed to look like on Pickle. So a lot of really nice, high quality, trendy items were going up. The pictures, we also encouraged users to upload pictures from like their Instagram or of them wearing the items, so it's a little more real and it's a little more aesthetically pleasing, instead of just pictures of the item on a hanger against like a dark wall, or anything like that. So uh, that was kind of May through September, and September was where things really started to take off from a demand side as well. Kind of started with New York Fashion Week and a lot of rental use cases there, and then continued throughout the fall. And then as we got into the spring of 2023, we had a lot of really solid traction. Retention was really, really strong, and started to have a few videos go viral that really just propelled our user base, the supply that we had, the demand, all of it. We've kind of kept up the pace since then.
Very cool. I'm curious, actually, going back to what you said earlier, also, I think something that I didn't realize about the brilliance of your model is you're exactly right that just given the fact that you're able to move so quickly and deliver things same day or next day, is like you guys are literally tapping into a supply that's ineligible or currently not listed in like Poshmark and all these other kind of secondhand marketplace platforms, which is really, really brilliant. And I don't know, clicked for me as like kind of the why now, since a lot of this logistics stuff wasn't possible in the past. Was that like a planned thing, or was that just kind of something that you guys pivoted into intelligently after getting pulled from the market that way?
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of what we do is we just try to do really quick tests, and we say, hey, like, would people like this? And if they do, we keep doing it. If they don't, we stop doing that. We let our users make all the decisions for us. We just throw out a couple, hypotheses and see where they go from there. So we're really excited to be able to meet demand that no one else really can through a lot of local supply, and building supply local to our customers is really important to us. So as we think about launching in additional markets, which we're launching in LA right now, soon Miami, Chicago, a few others, building supply density in that market is really important so people can experience that aha moment of, I ordered this at 4 p.m. and it showed up, at my door at like 4:45 p.m. And that's great on like a Friday night when you just, found out about some new plans and you need something to wear. You might be in a pickle, some would say, and that's where the name comes from. So being able to solve that is really great. A lot of our rentals are of that same day or next day delivery, and to be able to get this quality of item that last minute, and really at about 10 to 20% of the retail price, is what we believe is pretty special, and why we're seeing a lot of really great retention from our users.
Super smart. Lou, I bet you love the name. I feel like you're the king of like punny names, and so when I heard the origin story of
absolutely
Pickle,
do.
I knew that you would.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the lowest form of humor for sure is something that I
Yeah,
love. I definitely appreciate
yeah.
that.
We love the name. Some people have asked us, especially when we made the pivot. So that was the initial name of the polling platform as well. And when we made the pivot, some people were asking us if we were going to change the name, and we said no. Like, everyone seems to love the name. It's very memorable too. Everyone kind of seems to remember that. And then it's also kind of like, my fun fact now is that I hate pickles. I won't eat them. I just
Oh
like
wow.
absolutely
Oh,
despise
wow.
them.
That's a
So
great
I
fun
can't
fact.
lose my fun fact, which is the company's name's Pickle. And I don't even want to see one.
That's incredible. I love that. I could never imagine naming a company after something that I hated, but I mean, honestly, all the power to you. That's the screw loose in founders is kind of that. You mentioned the picture taking. I remember like in my like digital marketing days, like when we used to put Texas next to lawyer for any Google ads, the click-through rate was like 1% higher, which was like a huge bump. Like, curious if there's any other kind of weird hacky things that y'all do in order to either kind of support the supply, or like kind of make the demand more excited about the articles of clothing, or anything along those lines. It's kind of like hacky ways of kind of seeding the market.
Yeah. So we'll do a decent amount. So for example, I don't know if this isn't revolutionary, but we do create collections of items of some of the top things. We have some pretty naive algorithms. We're working on improving those, just to surface a lot of the really great stuff that people are interested in seeing. We did put a button in there for our team if they do see something that's not photographed well, or just doesn't look like something that people would really be interested in renting. We have a button to demote it on the feed. So that's most of it. We did do a few, and this was a great area for growth early on, and why all the images kind of look as good as they do on the platform. So we did a few scrappy photo shoots that Julia put on. So basically, hired a photographer for like $200 or $300 from an FIT, either an FIT student or just off of an app online. Went to a outdoor spot in Soho, invited a bunch of influencers, gave them some credits to rent stuff, or just told them to, bring the items from their closet that they wanted professional photos in, and then they would be able to upload them to Pickle. And, they loved that concept. People love coming to get their photos taken at a photo shoot in Soho. And we did a couple of those, and that's what seeded a lot of the really early supply. So that's probably the scrappiest thing that we did. And I don't think we really realized we were doing it more so as a pull to get supply on the platform. I don't think we realized the impact it would have on the quality of supply, and B, the professionalism of the images on there, which really set the tone for all of the future supply and all of the future demand that we had. So, great idea by Julia there.
Very cool. Similarly, I was curious, you mentioned like you guys are very community driven and they help make decisions on product roadmap and stuff. I'm curious if you guys ever had hypotheses that you guys were excited about, but like the community didn't respond as well or got pulled in a different direction that was unexpected.
Yeah, that's a great question. We haven't had too many yet. I would say the one community focused item that we were excited to roll out. We thought it'd be a good idea, but we didn't realize how much it would catch. Is one of the tabs in the app is this looking for tab. So it's sort of like a community forum where people can post, going on vacation to Greece, looking for, a few different outfits, A, B, C, D, or, if they're looking for something even more specific, looking for, this exact dress, like, here are some details on it. And then here's a few like inspiration images. And then other people from the community can go on and recommend items from their closet. That's a feature that we just kind of quickly coded out one weekend and then rolled out. We didn't have like a launch plan, or we didn't think about seeding it with like a few different examples and stuff like that. But we released it and people just started using it right away, exactly as intended. It was probably the luckiest product launch anyone could ever have. But that's a way that people have kind of surprised us in the past. But I don't think that there's been anything that we've invested like a ton of time in that just hasn't really taken off, just because we do look at the data so much early on, and that's where kind of all the ideas come from.
Yeah, makes sense. The other thing I was excited to talk to you about is like I admire how scrappy you guys are. We talked earlier about how it was just you and Julia for the first 2 years or so, and you guys only raised like $400K before your most recent $8 million seed round, which I find to be amazing. I'm curious about just like the mindset shift. Like I imagine being on like a very small 400K or less budget versus now having a much bigger round or more capital to kind of deploy. I'm curious what that mindset has been like, or mindset shift has been like, and like what you're planning on doing with the capital now that you have so many more resources.
Yeah, great question. Yeah, I mean, we went so long with so little. We ended up spending, I think, about 315K over the first 2.5 years, and then now, yeah, the budget is a lot bigger. And it's funny because when you're kind of in the moment, and especially like right before you raise, like you have a ton of traction. You're the customer support channel is deep. There's just so much going on, and yeah, you just keep telling yourself, once we raise, we'll solve all these problems, right? And then you raise, and you kind of think, oh, like, great, now things will be easier, and it's just different problems. First off, you have to solve all the problems that you pushed off from before, and then the mindset kind of shifts to a couple different things. One, how can we build the most effective team, which we've been extremely lucky, and we're able to onboard a few members from our community that have been users for a while, and then also found a couple of great engineers. So we're really, really pleased and excited about the early team we have here. And the other is just from a marketing perspective, when you go from a $0 marketing budget to, any marketing budget, it's just about learning how to efficiently spend. So just running again, I kind of sound like broken record here, but running tests on what's the most effective messaging through TikTok or potentially Instagram, or how can we, better embed referral program throughout the app and things like that. So it's just all different problems and all new learnings that we have to make. But it's been exciting. We've been having fun.
Yeah. And then I guess the last thing just to talk about, like the next or the future of Pickle, like the next chapter. I know I mentioned a few things like product launch or market launches at different cities. I know you're opening a retail space in New York, which is super exciting. I'm personally really excited about that. What else is on the roadmap, or what are you most excited about?
Yeah, there's a lot we want to do, a lot we're very excited about. Early on, we're going to continue to focus on our core use case of clothing and accessories. So we're live with female clothing and accessories right now. We do plan to launch male clothing and accessories in the next couple months here. We're bringing on a PM slash growth person in the next couple of weeks that we think he has a lot more style than I do. So we needed someone to help guide us there, which he'll be great for. And then market launches in LA, Miami, Chicago, some of the places where we've seen some really early demand. We're technically live in every city, so anyone can download, start uploading their items, look for supply near them that they might want to rent, or potentially get things shipped to them via USPS priority shipping. When we say that we're quote unquote launching in a market, it basically means that we're just focused on building supply density there. So that's kind of the big thing. And then other categories that we're looking at as well. People have already started to upload things like suitcases and cameras. We're not really focused on category expansion at the moment, but we do see how those are very tangential use cases. So people have rented some suitcases on the platform, and I think it makes a lot of sense. So we're pretty excited for all that. And then you mentioned the retail store should be opening in early December. We're really excited about it. It's a great experiential marketing, tangible aspect to the company. So people will be able to come rent from some of the bigger influencers or celebrities in the New York area. We're also going to put a content studio in the lower level of the storefront, and people will be able to kind of try on some pieces, take some content, and overall it's going to be really great. We're really excited. Like I said, we have the right team in place, and are continuing to get more and more interest in working at Pickle. So a lot of exciting things to come.
Yeah. The location also is amazing. Like heart of West Village. Like I think it's going to be a hit. That's exciting to see.
Yeah, we really wanted it to give off a solid neighborhood vibe, and our kind of goal for this space is if it's a Saturday morning, let's say, and you're walking around with some friends thinking about what you're going to wear that night, you stop by Pickle where that you could get something, you could pick something up, right from there, or find something through. We'll have some stylists in the store that might help you find something from another closet in the city. Either way, you can either leave from the store with it or have it delivered, that same day to wear that night, and then you send it back the next day. And I think the neighborhood vibe will drive a lot of really strong foot traffic. So we're really excited about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
One kind of more general question on kind of building a peer-to-peer marketplace. It's been an idea that's has had plenty of successes, but also some kind of surprising missteps as well. Like if you had a friend who was coming to you and was saying, "Hey, I'm thinking about building a peer-to-peer marketplace," like what canonical examples of kind of marketplace advice do you find to be true, and what are some other ones that you're like maybe steer away from that, or like how do you think about leading that person on the right journey?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say, first off, if you can find an idea where there's so much overlap between the supply and the demand side of the marketplace, really, go there. For us, about half of the people that have listed things on Pickle have also rented things. So there is just a ton of overlap, and that A, brings down marketing costs, but B, it just creates a lot more understanding of the marketplace. So, people on the supply side, or like the owners, understand the experience of the renter, and vice versa. When you're renting something, you understand the experience of the other side, which just makes things a lot better. I would say the number one most important rule is to focus on supply, really, really early, and make sure that you're getting the exact supply that you want on there up. That the first couple of weeks or months of in the first couple of that the first bit of supply that goes on there is just so important towards seeding the expectations moving forward. So that's really important as well. As far as things to stay away from, I would say probably just trying to do too much demand side marketing early on. And it's obviously very expensive. You can't really force things with these types of marketplaces. You're either listening to the data and creating a solution that people are really interested in using, or it may be time to pivot or try some other things out. But spending a bunch of marketing on trying to just create artificial demand, it's not really a great way to efficiently spend capital.
Hmm. Yeah, Leora and I have talked about that as well. Of just at least part of my thesis is like it's going to be harder for consumer facing companies in general to like get off the ground. There either needs to be organic, kind of strong demand from the beginning, where like what you guys saw essentially, like you were able to kind of show the early traction you needed to either bootstrap or raise very quickly, or it's going to be like major incumbents who have that huge arsenal of money, just like pouring money into that customer acquisition game, but I don't think like startups have the ability really to do that anymore. And so anyway, it's super interesting and yeah, insightful.
Yeah, definitely. And VCs just really aren't interested in a company that's just going to toss a bunch of money into paid ads. So I think while the if you build it, they will come narrative definitely doesn't apply to startups and companies as a whole. It does kind of apply to building great supply. If you have great supply that people want, there will be solid demand.
Yeah. I guess also on the raise piece, we talked about this too. I made a joke that like all of my non AI founder friends like really struggled to raise this year, which is kind of a joke, but also not really a joke. And clearly, you guys have completely made that trend untrue, or like given your successful raise this year. I'm curious if you have any advice for founders who are not building in the AI space or particularly in the consumer space. Like, what are you seeing VCs ask about? Traction, obviously, but any more detail or nuance to that would be awesome.
Yeah, I would say I mean, it sounds cheesy, but like focusing on the fundamentals of retention, both customer and like user retention, but also net dollar retention. So how much are people spending, right away when they come on the platform versus in, the next couple months or years or whatever it may be. That was a really important metric for us that I know our investors were really interested in. I would say that, be selective of the events you go to. It's great to be building a network, but there's a lot of events out there that may just be a waste of time. Putting your head down and building is oftentimes a more effective use of time than it is to just kind of be going to random things at night. And then I would always try to do meetings in person as much as possible. Meetings over Zooms, VCs get distracted. They're doing a million other things on their computer, not fully listening. And when you're in person, you're able to effectively communicate the passion that you have around your idea much, much more effectively. So those would be the major things. That's kind of what worked for us. I think we also just got lucky with timing in terms of when we were having some of these conversations, as well as kind of what our numbers were looking like. So when you do see major inflection points in your data, hit the fundraising ground really hard then, and timing should work out.
Yeah, smart.
How did you think about, I mean, as you kind of embark into this next phase of Pickle, you're launching in these new markets and each market has its own nuances, like from a density standpoint, LA obviously looks very different than New York from a style standpoint as well. So how do you think about like learning the lessons from an individual city, yet also treating the city as its own? Like what overlap is there and what do you kind of need to unlearn almost?
Yeah, that's a great question. So LA is obviously way different from New York in many, many aspects. We were out there a couple weeks ago, meeting some people, doing some hiring, things like that. And uh, I think that just really talking to people in those cities or in those communities about what they see, kind of explaining what you did in New York or in other markets that have been successful, and then talking with them about how it could potentially apply in an LA. For example, we started mostly in Manhattan, and then eventually, expanded into Brooklyn and Jersey City, Hoboken, Queens, some other parts of New York. And when we were talking about LA, it's trying to figure out what is the launch area there, where will there be the most early demand that's going to create some really awesome word of mouth out there. And then from a logistics and operational perspective, it's just thinking through the different intricacies of each city. So everything in LA is a lot more spread out. There's more traffic. People aren't able to get around as quickly. So it is very, very important to build up a lot of core supply in neighborhoods where there, is more density and people can be closer to each other so that they can get that really quick, easy experience at the lowest cost possible.
Yeah, it seems like with marketplaces specifically, having kind of started a version of one and invested in one, constraints are many times more important than anything. I think there is of course, folks want to grow as quickly as possible, but if you're not being as thoughtful as kind of what you're describing, you end up kind of creating poor supply, which creates a bad user experience, and it's harder to win over them going forward. And so finding ways to constrain your markets and really nailing the niche. I know it's like at this point, maybe a trope, but it is a true trope, especially with marketplaces.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And, we're excited to be, hopefully bringing on the next couple of weeks here, a few, senior members from companies that have done this market by market launch before. So people that have that experience, have that go to market knowledge and are able to, really inform how we think about that in each of these different markets that we're launching. So it's a really fun game, though. I mean, it's there's so many interesting problems to solve that are so market specific. So we love it, and we're really excited.
Yeah. Leo, do you want to wrap us up with rapid fire?
Yeah, absolutely. So the intention for these questions is to answer in kind of one sentence or less. And I'll start with the founder you look up to most.
Probably Brian Chesky. Do I give an explanation or
go for it? Yeah, give the explanation.
That's a great one.
I know one sentence or less, but his focus on the product is what's inspirational, and we love that.
Book that most changed your life.
How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Good one. What job you would want if you couldn't be a founder?
That's a good question. I don't know if I would want another job.
No sports data science or anything like that?
Maybe. It still wouldn't be as exciting.
Fair enough. Favorite account, whether that's a newsletter, Twitter account, meme account, maybe your own?
Probably Steph's Twitter. If I had to, pick one.
Oh, that's cheating, but thank you. I'll take it.
I like. Also, we'll Venmo you the $100 after the podcast. Sorry. Whoops.
I do like Zyre Golf on Instagram. I'm a big golfer. It's a golf meme account, which is pretty funny. Nice way to just take a little break and laugh.
Even as a non-golfer, I also love that account for whatever reason.
I've never heard of this. What's their vibe, or what kind of memes do they post? Is it like cartoony, or is it, I don't know, what is it?
It's like kind of, it basically takes anything going on with current events and applies it to golf, and they just do it in a really funny way. So
I can't visualize that, so I guess I'll just have to see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Your first entrepreneurial endeavor can be a company idea, a fun college initiative, anything.
A friend of mine that I played with football with at Maryland, he and I tried to start fan engagement for college athletes about 10 years or 8 years or so before NIL existed. So, that was fun to think through, but obviously blocked by a lot of hurdles. So,
do you think it worked today? Oh, go ahead, Larry.
No. Yeah, I think so. We had someone that we pitched on it at Maryland. He was in the entrepreneurial center. Maryland's a great entrepreneurial resources, and he called me about a year ago when they were rolling out different programs for Maryland football and basketball. I was like, hey, a lot of what we're doing is some of the things that you guys pitched us like 8 years ago. And he was like, I just want to tell you that. I was like,
timing's everything.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, thanks. Also,
yeah.
I'll never talk to you again. Is it ever? I guess since you played football in Maryland, do you have any particularly interesting recruiting stories or anything that happened when you were over at U of M?
Nothing to share overly, on a podcast.
Fair enough. But yeah, it's interesting, like talking to some college athlete friends who missed NIL. They're just like, I could have gotten paid this whole time, and instead I was like eating scraps. So it's just funny how
Yeah,
things
I
have
mean,
worked.
I wasn't very good, so I would not have been paid either way. So I'm totally fine with it. I think a lot of it makes sense, and it's cool. We were down in Maryland a couple weeks ago. They have some great new facilities, so clearly it's an industry that's doing pretty well right now.
Totally. And last question, mega trend that you're most excited about, whether it's, in Pickle's world or not.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the sharing economy. Have to. I think it's just a really great, efficient way to consume, and we always say that it's obviously there's a lot of environmental benefits from it, but if the economic incentives don't align, then it's something that's not going to get any traction. And we're fortunate that the economic and environmental incentives on Pickle align very well. So we're really excited.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on, Brian. This has been fun.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. This is awesome.